Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of the TraxionGG podcast, where we talk about racing games, esports and sim racing. Today we're going to be talking about French sports cars, in particular Alpine's French sports cars, because while it makes the delectable A110 at present, going forward it has big plans to disrupt the car market. To understand why, we're going to speak to professional Veloce Esports sim racing driver and British GT race winner James Baldwin, plus Guillaume Vergnas from Alpine, head of esports and partnerships. Together, we're going to see what the future lies. So, James, thank you for joining us. How are you today?
No worries, my pleasure. I'm well. Yeah, you?
Yeah, really good, thank you. You've had a really successful esports campaigns already in 2022, even though we're not even halfway through the year. I just wanted to talk about the Alpine Esports competition in particular. How would you summarise your season so far?
Season's been very good. It's a very short season, so it's important to get the results straight away. So the first sprint race was a disaster, but apart from that, it's been perfect. So and lots of fun as well. Really competitive grid. So and the car itself is, I've never driven it before on ACC, but it's a good fun car to drive. So
nice. Yeah, I mean, you said first sprint race was a disaster, but it was still 5th position, I think. I think most people wouldn't call that a disaster, right? And then you won the feature race after that. So it was a good recovery.
You're right. I mean, disaster is probably a bit much, but qualifying, I got blocked, started 9th, and then almost got taken out. And, 5th is, it's okay. But as I say, when you've got 6 races, you need to make every result count. So, yeah.
Let's say if you did win the prize drive in a test in a GT4, Is that something you're aiming for, and would that be something that you're looking forward to?
Oh, definitely. I mean, my whole purpose, I think, in this industry is to try and blur the lines between virtual and reality. I've done it before, but that's what I want to continue doing. So to get a test in a GT4, which I've never driven before, I've only driven GT3, will be extremely insightful, interesting. I'll learn a lot. And you never know what kind of door it can open. It's only a test, but it can open doors. So, if I can wrap it up in the final round, then that'd be great.
Yeah, I don't want to tempt fate there because obviously it's not quite decided, but you're definitely on track.
Touch wood.
And yeah, exactly. And also, a pretty unique scenario. Most people, if they've driven a GT3 car and won a race competitively, they've probably driven a GT4 of some sort on the way up the ladder. But it's complete role reversal for you. It could be that then you can take some experience from that into this GT4 test pack. Definitely,
yeah. I mean, I'm going to see it as a bit, not a bit of fun, but I'm going to go there and enjoy it. I'm not going to go, with the British GT stuff. I went and I was so nervous, and I could barely breathe. I was that nervous. But with this, if I do win and I do get the test, then I'll go to enjoy it. And I think things always go a bit better when you approach things like that. So.
Yeah, do you think it's important for esports competitions like this to offer the opportunity to try something in the real world as well?
I don't think it's essential. I think esports now is its own thing, and it can live on its own. There's professional teams doing it and whatever, but I think that's the unique thing with sim racing and racing esports is the skills are so transferable that it can happen. All right, if I do get the test, great, but any one of the sim races in the top 10, if they got the test, they would all do a good job because the skills are exactly the same and they're all really good. So it does add, it adds an extra razzmatazz to the prize, I guess.
Good word. Love a bit of razzmatazz.
Razzmatazz.
Use it as much as I can. And do you think then that it shows confidence from Alpine to offer it, that they know that if anyone's good enough to qualify for this grid and then compete well and win against this field, that it's going to be not necessarily a drama when it comes to a test session? Because let's be honest, running a race car, even if you're making the race car yourself, is not a cheap exercise.
Yeah, I suppose it does show confidence, definitely. I mean, it's no new story that sim races can drive a real car. It's been going on for a few years now, way before even I was doing it. So I think there has to be a confidence there now. And hopefully, I'd imagine because it's Alpine and they'll do it at Paul Ricard, and you'd have to do something drastically wrong to hit anything at Paul Ricard. So
true, massive runoff areas there.
Exactly.
And when you're, let's say, like we've said, your results for this particular championship so far have been stellar. When you're leading a race and it's in theory in the bag, how do you stay focused and keep banging in the lap times when, it could be very easy to lose your concentration? Is concentration something that professional esports helps you learn and improve that skill?
It definitely does, yeah. I think it comes down to the preparation. Like if I turned up to a race hungover, for example, my concentration is not going to be good. Or if I'm not hydrated, or if I've not eaten, or if I've got a setup that's an absolute nightmare to drive, all those factors come into it. So if you make sure all those things are like as good as they can be, then in the actual race, then it's relatively easy, if you're in the lead, to just pump in the laps, not driving at absolute 100%, but like 99.9, relaxed, hit your apexes, hit your braking points, and just kind of a metronomic mentality, like almost like a robot. But practicing that skill in esports, as you say, when you go into a real car, it does help. And yeah, I think that was one of the strengths I had, was the consistency compared to other drivers. I guess because of the sim racing. So
yeah, I just think that's one of the things that sometimes is overlooked. Is okay, maybe some people might say the sim racing, you can learn the tracks, you can learn competition, but there's this focus and a mental attitude as well, which is extremely intense, especially like in this Alpine series where everybody's in the same machinery, and it's very hard to find a difference. You mentioned preparation there. Roughly how much preparation have you put into this particular championship, or would you put in typically to a professional level esports race?
Well, it is busy at the moment. Like there's 3 or 4 different competitions going on, but I'll dedicate as much as possible to it. So for Alpine, I'd say like jump on 3 or 4 days before, and then do like 2 to 3 hours a day type thing. So it is quite a lot. Like not crazy amounts, but like it is still quite a lot. As I say, I'm balancing it with like the V10R League, with SRO Esports, with VCO's competition. So like it is tricky, but if you practice well and you're not wasting your time, you can do quite a lot in 2-3 hours. So
yeah, and you actually mentioned the other competitions. There's even if they're on different tracks or different platforms, although of course SRO is on ACC as well, but that's GT3, not GT4. There are still things you can still pick up, I'm assuming, like how the game actually works, how it responds to setup changes. So it's not just the 2 or 3 hours per day for several days for Alpine, right? It's your combined experience. Is that a fair comment?
Fair comment, definitely. You're right. The game, different car, different category, but the game is, the physics are the same. The way the game works is roughly the same. I mean, the Alpine has its quirks, but, it takes a bit of time to learn them. But, I find with going to the GT4 as well from the GT3 in the game, I just had so much time to think because it was going slower. Right. So it wasn't as tricky going, as going from GT4 to GT3 where things are coming at you a bit quicker. So in that respect, it was a bit easier. But it's been hard. Like the grid is stacked with like really good ACC drivers like George Boothby, Marco Pajic, and Luke Whitehead. The list goes on. So
yeah, it's a really good entry list. And obviously it was through open qualifying as well. So the fastest people are in there. Speaking of preparation again, I think the final track is fan voted. I'm not entirely sure at the time of recording it's been announced. So can you prepare at all for that? Or are you driving laps around every single circuit in the ACC?
No, I'm not doing that. I think that's a waste of time. But it's going to get like my middle of June is so busy, right? And I think that's when the final round is. So as soon as the track gets announced, hopefully soon, I can put some laps in and just prepare as much as I can because, I'm not going to have much time on the week of the race to practice, which is a bit unique. But I do have quite a championship lead, so I don't have to win. I just need to get a few points. So
the goal for the final round is some consistent finishes, nothing silly, and make sure you've got enough points of gap, do you think? Or are you just going to go in there and say, no, come on, I want to win the final 2 races as well?
On the night, I will, but I know my preparation is going to be absolutely terrible for it. So I think normal circumstances, yes, obviously go in and try and win. But, being realistic, I think top 5s, podiums, that'll be enough.
Yeah, I just want to touch upon the other esports activities you're doing within Assetto Corsa Competizione specifically, if that's okay, because you mentioned a few just then. You did just win a race at Zonvort in the GT World Challenge Europe. Last year, you won the British GT Esports and the GT World Challenge Europe on the same platform. Where do you think that game is at the minute when it comes to using it for an esports competition?
I think it's underrated because, the viewership isn't, it's no secret. It's not like F1 Esports or anything like that. The game itself, the simulator itself is very good, like my favorite. Simulates what GT cars feel like very well. I think it is ready for these competitions. Like the infrastructure of the game and the way it's broadcasted is pretty awesome, I think. I don't know what it needs really to get the viewership of the bigger series, but to an extent, I do care about that stuff, but my main focus is like getting results. But it's interesting to see. I think it has got slightly more popular over the last year, so hopefully it does continue to grow.
I would say so. I think there's been several competitions using Assetto Corsa Competizione that are really well done. This is one of them, especially from a broadcast point of view. And the visuals of the game, they look really strong, better than some other platforms and the wet weather, which is good. Do you think more car manufacturers should be involved in esports? I mean, there's obviously Alpine, there's several others out there. Do you think it's a sign that the automotive industry is aware that the next generation of not just motorsport drivers, but real world normal car drivers are actually watching esports?
I think it's great. Like Alpine have done this obviously last year as well, but more so this year. I think it's really important because if it was called, something esports series that no one knew the name of or didn't know what it was, there'd be no credibility to it. Like I wouldn't go and do it, but because it's Alpine, really, really famous car manufacturer, the opportunities to have a GT4 test, and that's why I went to do it, because it was credible. So I know if I win it, people would look at me and go, "Oh, well, he won that Alpine Esports Series, but that's quite a big deal." So I think it's quite important for big car manufacturers and businesses to incorporate themselves in esports, for everyone involved, really. So, fair play to them.
Couldn't agree more. I think it's a really good step forward. One final question. You recently announced that you might be doing some motorsport again later this year. Let's hope that comes through. I know we can't talk specifics now, but do you think competing in something like these top-level esports competition is also keeping your mind sharp for what might come on the real-world track in the future?
That's completely why I'm doing it. Because if I wasn't doing it, I wouldn't be doing anything. I haven't got the money to go testing. So I would just get to that real-life opportunity and probably have a bit of a disaster. So keeps me sharp. It's my job as well. I represent a team doing this, Veloce. So, and I enjoy it. Like it's a genuine passion. Like I don't feel like I have to go and I don't have to lug myself on the rig and force myself to practice. Like I enjoy doing it. I enjoy competing, but it does keep me extremely sharp. Well, hopefully, when the real life opportunity comes around, I should be in a very good place mentally and physically. So,
well, brilliant. Well, we wish you the best of luck with that opportunity that might come in the real world, but also with the remaining esports competitions you've got planned for the rest of this year. In particular, the Alpine Esports finale, which is coming soon on the 23rd of June.
Fingers crossed.
Absolutely. I'm sure you'll do it. Thanks for your time.
Cheers, Tom.
So, Guillaume, pleasure to speak to you today. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing, Thomas?
Oh, really good to speak to you, and thank you very much for your time. So, obviously, you work for Alpine Esports and also the Formula One team. So, just quickly, for those who don't know, talk me through a typical day in your life, please.
So, I've bbeen working with Alpine F1 team for now 5 years, a bit of time in the UK in Enstone, and a bit of time in Viry, where we produce the powertrain as well. So I do three things. The first thing that I do is like sponsorship, so finding sponsor for the Formula One team. I do esports, so I created Alpine Esports and managing like a full team now. I used to manage before the partnership between Renault Sport and Team Vitality, from which we were like present on multiple games, but mainly F1 Esports and Rocket League. We've been world champion of Rocket League as well, of the RLCS competition. Right. And And then everything changed when Alpine, came into Formula One. It's obviously more like premium brand. So we try instead to be like, everywhere in the sport. We try to, be very specific. And so that's when we decided to be more on sim racing, which is where the brand is more legit, let's say. And so we made a partnership with Race Clutch, the sim racing entity in France, and we created Alpine Esports last year. So we do 3 things with Alpine Esports. The first one, we participate in the F1 Esports Series like every other Formula One teams.
Yep.
We participate to the virtual Le Mans Series as well. And we organize our own championship called the Alpine Esports Series as well. So, and then the third thing that I do for the team is around Web3, crypto, NFTs. I'm a sort like of a geek expert in that area within Alpine, let's say. So these are like the 3 things that I do on a daily basis.
That sounds like a very busy and varied role. So you're almost looking to the future with Web3. Then you're looking at the burgeoning sport of esports, and then also working on the extremely important relationship building for the sponsors with the Formula One team. That's mad. I don't know how you get any sleep, but how do you balance the two? Is there like a connection between those 3 pillars?
Yes, exactly. So you have like Web3 is obviously like the future, like of kind of like internet, basically. So it's the future also of gaming. You have like massive studios that are building on this. It has actually quite cool racing games that are being created right now on the blockchain. So this is more like to look at also what we could do as like an esport organization in the future as well. So there's a lot of like gaming and IT linked to it, which helps me mixing a bit of both. And on sponsorship, we got like partners that we're selling Formula One, but we're also selling esports in the same kind of like bundles. And so that's a strategy that is being done by more or less all the Formula One teams right now. But we have like partners that really enjoy esports and sim racing. Like Binance, that is sponsor of the Formula One team as well as esports. We got like Mendian, the cybersecurity brand from the US, that is sponsor of like the Formula One team as well as esports. So this helps like getting additional funds to get more, let's say, fun things happening in the world of sim racing with the brand.
That's very clever. So you're leveraging both worlds and making them work together. That's a very interesting prospect. When it comes to esports within the company of Alpine, prestigious sports car manufacturer, established WEC and Formula One teams, where does esports sit in terms of a priority within the business?
So obviously Alpine is like at the moment selling premium cars. The aim is to go fully electric sport cars. We're having like, new models that will go out in market by 2024, 2025, 2026. And that's new product will be 100% electric. You have to see this brand as like the Tesla of Europe, with the kind of like sportiveness of Ferrari. So that's the kind of like positioning that Alpine wants to develop. And so by doing so, we need to target like also an audience that can purchase these kind of cars, but also a younger audience as well, because at the moment we're targeting an old audience as well. And that's the strategy on the brand side, and there's more to it, but I think like on some of your questions we will answer this. Esport is a full pillar of like the motorsport strategy of Alpine. So if you go on the Alpine Cars website, you got like a cars part, you got like the F1 part, you got the WEC part, and then you have the esports part. So this is like a full-on pillar of the strategy, and we want to have like, where we talked about virtual Le Mans, we are presenting the WEC where we are in real life. We are presenting the Formula One team when we go to the S4 Esports Series. What do we do for the kind of like car racing competitions? We do the Alpine Esports Series, because then we activate the GT4 car. But I'm relying on the next like generation of cars that then we can organize more on the sim racing side. So we represent like more or less all the activities of like the team, but also in the virtual world.
Wow, so that's much deeper than I expected, because obviously I'd seen the Alpine Cars website with the esports listed there, but it sounds as if, yes, you're only competing in things that are directly relevant to what the real world motorsport and car business is doing, and also you're trying to plan for the future of the entire business and using virtual racing to do that. That's
I think it's
quite innovative, I think.
Yeah, it's something that it's a kind of restriction as well, because if you're Williams Esports, if you're Red Bull, racing esports, you can more or less drive any car, any make in any game you want, because you're not like a car manufacturer. So you can run like, I don't know, BMW, even like a Porsche or anything. Like if you are a car manufacturer like Ferrari or Alpine, when you have your own esports team, you can only drive like cars of your make, and that's where it's good. It's an asset to promote your cars, but it's a restriction in the term of like what competition you can enter or not.
True. Interesting. What we're talking before the finale of the Alpine Esports Series. So obviously, like you say there, you've got the Virtual Le Mans Series, 24 Hours Le Mans Virtual. You've got the Formula One Esports Series Pro, but Alpine Esports is your own entity, okay? It uses Assetto Corsa Competizione, but you're, as a company, responsible for the rules and the regulations, and every car is an Alpine A110 GT4, which is a very nice vehicle. This is the second season of this championship. How's it going for you so far? Has it reached expectations?
Yes, I mean, like we wanted to go bigger for this year. Last year there was still like the GT4 car to win, but experience to win. This year we wanted to go bigger, like with the support from our partners as well. So there's like a track racer TRX to win. There's like a couple of products from Philips Hue lights, all the connected lights, cool lights that you can have on your simulator as well. And we also got like a big cash prize in crypto from our Binance partner, and there's a cash prize of like $100,000 worth of crypto to win, which the winners can do whatever they want with it. They can sell it and change it back to pounds. They can decide to keep some of it. We changed that to kind of like grow the competition as well and attract like top players, like you mentioned, James Baldwin, like who has like a very impressive palmarès, and he's also a very cool guy that we met around like the F1 Esports Series. That's how we wanted to grow the competition. I think it's like very competitive as well this year. We wanted to improve the show by having like specific liveries from each of our partners. They are designed by Sean Bull, who's our graphic designer. He designed like F1 cars and so on. So that's how we wanted to go kind of like the spectacle of the series. Yeah, so we want to grow the series. We want to find also talents to then like join the kind of like project that we have. So that's why the top 5, I think, gets to join like the Shamir kind of like academy, eSport Academy. So that's we're very happy about the competition. We're happy about like this year's like enthusiasm. And we always want to grow as well. So we're already thinking about next year as well.
Okay, yeah. It was a 6-race calendar for this season, so 4 have already been done. The last one's going to be a fan vote for the track. So James Baldwin, as you mentioned there, is far out in front, but it's not decided yet. So it's all to play for the final round. The top winning prize is a GT4 track day experience in an Alpine. Is it important to have a link there between the very best esports talent and then also then putting that into practice on a circuit?
Exactly. For us, it was one of the pillars when I presented this to the management of Alpine. Say like, this is not just like people playing games, and obviously you have like older person that are at the board of management, and they are like, we want to cut this idea of gamers are just like basement people. It's increased playing video game. That's not true. Actually, like these guys are putting a lot of energy and effort in training, and we have like the chance with sim racing to have something that is getting very close to real racing. You can't say the same for FIFA. For instance, you can be good on FIFA. That doesn't mean you're good with a ball on a football pitch.
It's a completely different skill set, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And us, we have that link directly from strategy, from setting up a car, from feeling, from force feedback, from position. Everything is kind of similar, and that's kind of like very, very interesting. So you got like a lot of F1 drivers that play also on simulators. The example of Max Verstappen, he's probably very good because also he plays on the simulator. So for us, it's very important to have this link from you're very good on esport competition. Then there's like an opportunity for you to drive the same car in real life and give us feedback on that experience. And that's something we're taking very, very seriously. We want to open up these activities. It doesn't say like, you're going to go from playing F1 2022 to directly going Formula One. That's not like the way it works, because there's still G-Forces, as 20 best driver in the world. That's going to be tough to get like, anyone jump from like a simulator to there. But what about Clear Cup? What about like Alpine Cup?
Yep.
What about
Alpine
like
Cup? Yeah.
GT4 cars season? Like these are like things that we can do easily as well. So this is some of the things that we're pushing to bridge the, show that there's like a bridge between the two. And,
do you think in the future that's something you could explore further? Like a Clear Cup drive or an Alpine Cup drive for the best esports drivers, perhaps?
Yeah, that's definitely something we're looking at. We start gathering we start gathering how much like a season would cost, all these kind of things. Mm-hmm. We want also to push, opening, our driving experiences to our esport drivers as well. So yeah,
that's excellent.
There's more to come in that space.
Oh, okay. We'll be watching very eagerly to see if that develops. I don't want to keep you too long, but so before we go, are you looking forward to the finale of the Alpine Esports Series?
Yeah, it's going to be like a very interesting competition between George and James. I think it's going to be like a very tough finale for all the drivers. So good luck to everybody.
Absolutely. Same here. Best luck to everybody involved. And even for those who aren't competing for the overall crown, there's still something to play for in the final race there. So, Guillaume, thank you very much for your time. As we're recording, I know you're very busy with Monaco Grand Prix coming up. So good luck with that as well. And,
thank you.
Best luck with the Alpine Esports projects.
Perfect.
Well, thank you very much for joining us as we discussed the future of Alpine as a sports car manufacturer turning into an EV electric car manufacturer and using esports to attract that new audience, plus some insight into James Baldwin's mindset and preparation to be at the very top of professional esports. If you enjoyed that, then please do subscribe on Apple Podcasts and leave a review, or follow and like and rate on Spotify, because that really helps us out, enables us to create more episodes with even greater guests each week. So don't forget, every Monday normally, unless there's an embargo, there will be a new Traxion.GG podcast. You can follow Traxion.GG on social media and also visit the Traxion.GG, that's the URL, website every day for the very latest racing game and sim racing news and views. But for now, keep it pinned.